What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Welcome to How do you how do you intro?
Yeah.
Uh,
I've
what's
only
up?
got two hands. It's still with the two hands.
What's up, everybody? Sure. That's me. I pulled the Caitlin.
Hey.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah. Hey, welcome to Something Good. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Uh, this is a show. We're gonna do a show today. We're here. If you don't know, normally this is like a stand-up. Or we got a little stand-up. We got a little variety. We have some games. We do some different stuff. Today we didn't necessarily feel like that was the most appropriate thing, but we still wanted to talk to each other. We still wanted to talk to you. There's a lot going on, and our show is really about processing and how to find a little bit of positivity in a world of shit. And oh boy, is the world covered in it right now. So we thought maybe we could talk and see what happens. This will probably be an abridged version of the show. We kind of want to just highlight some of the voices we've seen during all of this stuff, some of the organizations, some of the efforts that we've seen, shout them out. We don't have a big audience, but we feel like this is something that we can do to help. And instead of going silent, we thought maybe we do this. And also, what's up
Somebody just texted me and said we can't hear you on YouTube.
on? Okay, tight.
Well, it wouldn't be a Tuesday without technical difficulties, I feel
Right.
like. Right?
It's a
We are
very
staying
okay.
true to the show, guys.
Yeah, she said can't hear anyone.
Okay.
Our producer said you're coming through fine. Oh, my
Wait,
mom.
can everybody else hear us?
Oh, everybody else can hear us. Well,
Okay.
Nat and Ann, your
yeah.
fault.
I don't want to be a dick here, but you should check your sound. Um, yeah, I
Perfect.
don't know if you can't hear us or if we're lagging or something. Go ahead and let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like it's okay. This is gonna be, and don't like whatever. This is gonna be an awkward show regardless because we don't know what we're doing. We barely know what we're doing all the other times anyway, and now it's worse. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, my name is Ben. Oh God, voice crack, great. I'm Ben Katzner. I am a comedian here in New York, currently stationed in Queens. Chloe, why don't you go?
I am Chloe Radcliffe. I'm a comedian in Brooklyn or in New York and currently in Bed-Stuy. All right. Well, Caitlin's actually muted. We've never had this many.
This is crazy.
See, I jinxed it before when I said everything's going wrong.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm Caitlin. I'm a comedian out of Brooklyn, New York, and I'm in the same house as Chloe, just in a different room. Isn't that fun?
What's up, Rumi?
Hey.
And Ben and I are both from Minneapolis originally.
Yeah, we've both that was actually one of the reasons too, and Caitlin's from California, and that was one of the reasons that we felt like maybe it would be worth having this conversation. I think we have some perspectives, and I know we have people watching from my hometown outside of Minneapolis, and I think it would be a great time to have some conversations and give a little perspective. For anyone who's watching, we live streaming on YouTube. Get in the chat. Let us know how you're doing. Good, bad, indifferent. Put it in there. We're doing this for you too. We want to check in, and I have a lot of friends who watch the show. We all do, and we want to see how you're doing, and we'll try to talk about it. If you have questions for us that you think we can answer, and by no means, as you can tell just by the technical aspect of what we're doing, are we the authority on anything. But I feel like I won't speak for those two, but I know for myself, I feel like I know people who are much smarter than me and have a lot of good information. And like, if I can ask somebody later and get you some information that you need, I would love to do that because this whole thing is just about, I don't know, checking in and learning what we can learn. And, maybe there will be one singular dick joke in this whole thing, but I can't promise you that. There's no promises. I guess and also we this week, we will still ask for donations, but our donations are going to go, they're going to split to two different organizations in Minnesota that are working on clean up in their neighborhoods after obviously all the stuff that's been happening. One of the groups is the Northside Funders group, and the other one is the Midway United group, and that's St. Paul and North Minneapolis. There is another group that's focused on Lake Street, but they're actually not that they can't still use money, but they're doing very well. Whereas these other two could definitely, we would love to have them catch up because there are a lot of people who are kind of hurting who could use a little help. So
Which feels like it's still representative of
yeah,
structural racism.
yeah,
Lake Street is much more gentrified than North Minneapolis or Midway.
yeah.
Midway and St. Paul.
So any donation you make to us today, and again, the link is in the description, and we'll put it in the chat if it isn't already. We'll go to those two groups, and then we're also individually donating to a bunch of places, and we'll talk about other places. But I don't know. Let's just go around and just. I feel like we all haven't had a conversation really yet since last Tuesday, which was already crazy. But how are you two doing? How are you feeling? I know there's a lot going on. Caitlin, you want to go first? You want to talk a little bit about what's up?
Sure. Yeah, I've been really sad and frustrated the past week with everything going on. I think the most hopeful I've ever felt was when I was actually at protests because everybody was so encouraging. We went to one a couple nights ago, and then we went to one today. And today was really inspiring, and people were helping each other. There was a lot of people, and we walked for a long time. And that was like, okay, that was the one part where I was like, okay, this is hopeful. But when it's the downtime, you get really, really sad, and you kind of feel helpless in a way. But it's that part's been frustrating, but then the other part has been encouraging. But it's just like a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I feel that. I haven't. There's been every day there are numerous. For those of you who don't know, in New York specifically, there are definitely numerous protests all over different boroughs every day, and I've been to a couple. And the first one I went to was in Harlem, and so that's in Manhattan, and we walked from like 125th Street to 59th, like Columbus Circle, right? Stopped at Trump Tower, and then people started getting like a good kind of rowdy, like not whatever, but like they were definitely like, fuck you, like we don't like fuck you, which was nice. They kept going. I went home, and I just remember being so physically and emotionally drained after that. Just like I was crying during. I hadn't really been part of something that monumental. Like to me, that meant a lot. I got home, and I just remember sitting and being like, I just everything was like out. I just like couldn't move. And then there's that thing of when you're not active, when you're not out, whatever. I know for me too, like then I'm on Twitter or then I'm on Facebook, and then I'm just basically just yelling at people from high school to be like, be better, please. We need your help, and please be better. Which is why, if anyone who follows me on any of those things, I know most of you, if you're watching this show and you follow me on that, I'm sorry, I'm not yelling at you. Okay, I'm yelling at our mutuals who, will bitch all day about not being able to get a haircut, but won't talk about any of this stuff, which is very frustrating for me. But Chloe, how about you? How have you been?
I think, I mean, no different than either of you. I've been so angry. I've been, I've felt helpless so much. I've felt guilty. It's like I'm not sleeping well. And the times when that led up were when we went the first protest, because it really did just feel, it's like I went to the Women's March. I've been to something, I can't remember what else I've like protested, I thought. And that just felt like you're walking with the big group. And this was so different. It just really was clear that this is a real movement, and there is real energy, and there is real injustice, and there is real pain and anger and real hope and real conviction. And it was like a very sort of universal moment. So that it was like for the first time I felt like light again was at the protest and at that first protest. And then the other thing that has really helped, and this was total happenstance. And we'll talk more about this later, but there's a huge donation site in St. Paul that is currently being run by 3 people affiliated with the comedy scene in Minneapolis, or in the Twin Cities. And I happened to have texted 2 of those people in the last couple days and said, I don't know, where can I send my friends or something where can I tell them to help? And this past weekend, they both out of the blue, I mean, it was the same day, I'm sure they talked about it, but they both texted me and said, all right, you want to help? You can help. I got a job for you. And I wound up doing a bunch of like back end organizing and coordination that I could do over the phone and over my computer and that kind of stuff. And it just felt like, oh, I'm doing something. I have a reason to do something. I'm not sitting like I had been very seriously considering going back to the Twin Cities because it just felt so fucking useless to be here. Helping them was like, oh, here we go. I'm finally doing something. So I've realized part of it honestly is just sort of like the busyness of like, I'm doing something that has to do with this. But then when I'm not doing those, when I'm not out protesting or not organizing with that stuff, then I'm on Twitter and not sleeping. And
what's the latest you've stayed up so far? Like I went to bed, I think maybe this is a better question. What's the earliest you went to sleep? I went to bed at maybe like 2:30 yesterday, and I think that was the earliest I've been to sleep in the last week.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say about 3.
Yeah, I think the earliest for me has been 1:30, and then I'm still working, and so I am getting up in the morning, and it's a very dumb decision for me to go to sleep late, but oh well.
I mean, that was
you're still working too.
Yeah, I'm still working too, but also I was partially, I think I was doing that because it was quarantine. It was like, well, I'm not going on the train or whatever anyway, so I was staying up later than I normally would. And then now it's like, also now there's stuff happening at night where I'm sitting here and I'm watching TV and I'm like, hey, I want to go make sure the place I used to live at in South Minneapolis hasn't burned to the ground or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a person who really gets caught up in the news cycle and all the stuff. I used to work in journalism, so I pay attention and I care, but like I've never been like eyes glued to CNN or whatever. And now I'm just like searching everything for some scrap of information just to be like, I don't know. I feel I'm not there. I can't be there. So I think I feel like some obligation to really pay attention to what's going on. Also, my girlfriend has left. She had someone in her family got sick, so she went back to Wisconsin. So I'm by myself. So there's no one here to be like, hey, be an adult and go to bed. So if anyone wants to be that person, that's fine. It turns out I need my mom, and that is not my girlfriend's job. It is no one else's job. It is my own job to be my own mother, but I do need another mom.
It is your mom's job.
If you want to come stay with us, we have a spare bedroom.
You know what? I think I'd rather just never sleep again. That's probably fine.
You want us to be your moms?
I'm good. Thanks so
some people have dropped how they have commented how they are feeling in the chat. Tanya said feeling some hope with University of Minnesota and Minneapolis Public Schools ending contracts with Minneapolis Police Department. The schools was just today. That was a unanimous vote to end relationships with Minneapolis Public Police Department, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then my mom said that she's going to sleep at 12:30 or 1:30. She's so rattled and she's watching too much TV. Becky.
You gotta get some sleep back. Come on.
I know. And then, I mean, she's got a good mattress.
For those who don't know, the inside joke is that Chloe's mom has my old mattress. I doubt she sleeps on it, but she does.
She doesn't sleep on it.
The curtain has been
and Bryce asked, can you share the names of the organizations donations are going to? Still too lazy and stubborn to create a PayPal account. It's Northside Funders Group, and I can put Northside Funders directly in the chat right now. There is Northside Funders, and then the other one is Midway
United, or I'll put it in the chat.
And it's dropping in. Great.
Right now.
And we will post our donations on our Instagram account after the show. Thank you so much. Oh my God, there's already so much money coming in. Yeah. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, like I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but Chloe and I, again, we've both lived in Minneapolis, and I don't know how many people know this, but so for me, this was always bad. It's always tough. This was particularly tough for me. George Floyd was killed literally half a block away from where I lived in Minneapolis. Like, I stood on the corner where they, killed him. And so, like, I remember watching the video, which I haven't done in a while, and then being like, holy shit, I know this place. Oh my God, I know what, and then realizing like where it happened. And that was pretty striking. But from, the people I know who still live over there, they've been showing me the pictures and the like videos of just the peaceful gatherings and stuff that are happening over there, which is great to see, because there's that huge contrast too of I have people who live a little bit further down the neighborhood who are showing like Humvees rolling through their neighborhood and shit. And it's just like, Chloe, that instinct to like be there and go back, I feel that. I feel guilty for not being there, to be honest. I feel that's another weird thing is like, I mean, we can get into this, but I think a lot of people just knowing me, knowing that I lived there, lived here, whatever, like, I feel like so many people have questions for me, and I'm like, I am not any sort of authority or whatever, and like, I'm glad to answer them, but I feel like sometimes I just get overwhelmed, and then like I don't get back to people, or it takes a long time or whatever, and like there's guilt. So even when you're feeling bad, you're trying to help, and then you feel like you're not doing enough, and then there's more guilt, and there's like, God, this is just a shit cycle to be in.
Right.
But I do appreciate people hitting me up.
Are there questions that you're getting repeatedly?
I think a lot. I think it's just a lot of people kind of checking in and being like, what's something? So many people I know are like, I want to do more. What more can I do? And it's like, it's a tough answer, because it's like, I can give you direct actionable steps. You can donate here, you can clean up here, you can send food here, you can highlight this voice or these people, whatever. But it's like, I think people, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but I think people are kind of realizing, I think a lot of my white friends are kind of realizing what it's like to be Black, and we're like, hey, I want this to change now. And someone's like, me too, but also this is going to take a long time. Like, I've had people ask me specifically about like the police and, what can be done. Is there someone I can talk to? And it's like, yeah, if I wish I had the great answer for you, because if we could just get one person out or do one thing, we maybe wouldn't be in this situation. But it's such an ingrained systemic problem that like, this is going to take a long time, and we're going to need you in the long haul. Like, the passion that you have now is a passion that I think you're going to have later to attack a corrupt, unjust policing system in the state and like, or in this country, and to help rebuild some of these communities that are going to need help being rebuilt. Like, it's a long game. That's, one of my friends, Tanya, in the chat told me that. She's like, I'm kind of like playing the long game here too. And I'm like, absolutely. Because I hope that that's what comes out of all of this. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, but like, we have to force a change out of this, and we have to be in it for the long game. Otherwise, this isn't the first time, that people have been upset about something horrific like this is happening. But how can we make this time different than, the last million times or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that fun? Is this fun?
I mean, what you're talking about is exactly the thing. It is the like okay, a lot is happening right now. Now, is this going to be a long-term change? And if it's going to be a long-term change, it's going to be because we keep agitating and because more and more people keep committing to the cause long-term, not just feeling it right now. And this does feel like like an inflection point. Like this feels, I can't tell if it's just like, is it just that I'm older? So I'm more aware of it. I'm more politically educated and socially educated than I was 4 years ago during the Mike Brown summer. I don't know. Or is this really different? Is this, and I don't mean different, but is it, is it sort of the next step in that evolution?
We'll see. It's like we don't know until it's over, or like we're through a certain point. But I'm hoping, as much as I look, I hate 85% of social media, just like everybody else. Some of it is the absolute worst, absolutely. But I think it's like our tool, it's our weapon, our, like, it's in no hyperbole, like a camera phone and being able to send out video are our weapons, because we're not armed, like, the police might say our water bottles are weapons, but I don't think that. But like, I've seen so many videos of back to back to back to back to back instances of police brutality and like people doing nothing. I saw a video yesterday. Yes, exactly. Of like a person on their knees pleading for peace, and then like a guy in the back of this crowd of SWAT people being like, get him. They grab him, pull him back through the police line. I'm like, this is what people need to see. This is horrendous.
Right.
Like,
I've heard on Twitter posted the people listen to police scanners, and a couple quotes where the cops say, shoot these motherfuckers, and then another cop says, don't say that over the air.
Right.
And it's like,
it's wild.
Say it over the air, honestly. Say it so more people know.
You know that's in your heart. That's so say it.
Yeah.
Caitlin, your family is still in California, correct?
Yeah, they're in San Francisco, and things haven't gotten out of hand there.
Yeah.
I know, not like LA. LA has been bonkers, I would say. And then even north in Seattle, last night things in Seattle got pretty dangerous. So yeah, maybe like for LA, maybe we can talk to our co-producer or our producer, Lindsay.
Lindsay,
LA. Yeah. So LA Lindsay, how is everything going?
Should we? I mean, they can't hear what we're saying, so we could talk as much shit about our audience as we want.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't fill time.
Extremely better. They're being lovely.
We're back. It was my bad.
Oh, did you hear that? I was being nice.
Hell yeah. Can everybody hear us now? You should be able to. Whee!
Sorry about that. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the patience.
Yes, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Okay, so anyway, you were asking about what's going on in LA. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the news in LA or anywhere at all, I mean, I feel like one of the interesting things about this particular moment is that what's happening in these major cities feels like kind of the same everywhere. You know,
Mm.
I don't know.
Mhm.
From what I've seen in New York, from the on the ground videos, it feels very much like what LA felt like. I had a personally interesting experience on Saturday at the protests that ended up getting pretty violent in the end, and I think we were there for the very start of it. Black Lives Matter organized this wonderful, inspiring protest in Pan Pacific Park, not too far from where I live. And it was so inspiring, as Caitlin, you were talking about earlier, so beautiful. People helping each other, handing out waters, handing out granola bars, cars honking in solidarity, babies. It felt good. But then the police started to barricade us off, and I'm not sure what happened. The police just more and more and more came. They formed one of their lines, and I'm not sure what provoked them, but they just started to unleash on us. And my husband and I were very close to the front line. We were off to the side a little bit trying to social distance, so we were kind of like in a parking lot, not on the street where the line was. But we were very close to people. We saw people get hit with the rubber bullets. We saw 3 police officers take down like a 110-pound woman. Just like chase her, take her down. So that was really scary. And for me, it felt like, I was like, oh, is this what people of color feel like when they have any interaction with the cop? It was kind of the first time I was ever truly scared to be around police officers. So, yeah. And then, we saw a cop car on fire and, some tons of fireworks and flashbangs going off, graffiti, people slashing cop car tires. Yeah, I've never been a part of that before. And it was sort of the start of a long chain of events here in LA.
Yeah, that's wild. Like,
Yeah.
and I think there are some people in the chat too who have like been out and have been in the crowd while they were shooting rubber bullets and gassing people and stuff. And like, yeah, it's just crazy how quick I feel like that can turn. Um, and I don't know, like like I said, I kind of avoided it with the 2 things that I went to. I just, I wasn't out late enough, I guess, for it to turn. But it seems like as soon as we start pushing up toward that curfew, that police presence really like starts. You feel it more and more. It's like for us when we got near Trump Tower, it was consistently annoying to have a police presence on the route from the March from Harlem to like the Midtown area or whatever. But like once you got to Trump Tower, the amount, like full force, like 15 cars, like people lining up, like closing off other protesters. And I was just like, this sucks. Like, fuck you. Like, I don't have an eloquent way to say this other than like, fuck you. For real, fuck you. No one's doing anything. And like, you instantly feel this, like, you tighten up and you're just like, all right, I guess, something's going to happen. You hear a noise and you're like, what's up, and,
What time of day were you at Columbus Circle? Did you arrive there?
It's probably like 4-ish, 4:30 maybe a little earlier than that. Because I think we started in Harlem the thing in Harlem started at 1. I think I got there around 1:30 because I don't know how prompt you're supposed to be during like a revolution or whatever.
Fashionably late to the protest.
And then we walked for a while, and then I think it was probably around 3:30 or 4, what feels right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty big part of it, but I don't know. It's just surreal, and it's fucking crazy to be a part of it. And Lindsay, I know you have friends in DC and stuff who are telling you about the stuff that was going on there too. And I have friends.
You're from DC originally, right, Lindsay?
I'm actually from Iowa, not too far from Minnesota, but I lived in DC for 11 years. So yeah, lots of friends on the ground there. I was talking with one friend today about those protesters that got pushed into that house on Swan Street in DC. Basically we're trapped there in a stranger's house overnight, hoping just not to get arrested or tear gassed.
And it was that the cops had pushed them into the house. What happened?
I believe, and someone in the chat, if you know more about this than me, can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was past curfew. The cops were trying to round people up or push them out of the area or something like that, but with some force. And people opened up their homes to these protesters, so they retreated. But I guess the cops didn't relinquish right away, even though they were on private property. I believe there was some tear gas let out at the homes of these people, and they ended up having to camp overnight. So a friend of mine went to try to give rides this morning, so I got to hear a bit of her account trying to do that, but I don't know anyone personally in there. But it just from the people's live feeds, some friends of mine have been going live. It looks very terrifying to be down there by the White House. I can't imagine being there yesterday when the tear gas was deployed so that Trump could get his little photo op.
It's
For what? To hold the Bible weird? That was worth it? I don't understand.
I mean, it's like such blatant fascism. It's blatant authoritarianism. It's such a cross of a line that we've crossed many times before, but it's so much more blatant than anything ever before. And that we were talking about this a little bit before the show started, but this is again a thing that this is the first time that I'm thinking about this as a white person, that I'm experiencing this as a white person. But the cops are treating protesters and anyone involved with protesters as not even just people to be controlled. People to be controlled is poisonous enough, but they are treating people involved with protesters as active enemies, like it is not only militaristic force, but it is a militaristic mindset, that it is like, these are the people. I mean, you watch all videos over and over and over and over and over of somebody's already down and a cop lifts up the person's face, pepper sprays them, drops them again, keeps walking, as like an extra, like, fuck you. And it is this, like, you deserve it, you are bad, you are inherent. It is this sort of inherent lack of value, this inherent immorality that has always been associated with Black people, and that is now associated with Black people and protesters.
Right.
And it is eye-opening for somebody who's never experienced it before.
Yeah, because I certainly didn't feel that at the Women's March.
Yeah, no.
Okay. No, nothing like that at the Women's March.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, all that being said, I'm still going to vote for the guy. I don't know what you want from me. I'm just kidding. Okay, I think we have been this is good. I'm glad we're talking about this. But I think maybe it would be good to highlight a couple people, or like people that we know, or efforts, whatever, that we know of that are doing good things. Because like there is so much terrifying shit happening, but through this shit, I've seen so many of my friends, people I don't know, stepping up and like really helping in their communities and helping other people they don't know in situations that are very dangerous and scary. So maybe we just spend the last part of this talking about some of that, and going from there, and then someone can isolate the audio of me saying I'm going to vote for Trump.
All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye here and put you back on the main screen. Actually, I think we should just end it there.
Yeah.
All right, bye. Good talking with you guys.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Lindsay, our TD / co-producer /
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So Chloe, I think you should talk about. Let's start with you, because you mentioned the efforts that you've been doing with other comedians. Do you want to like shout them out, talk about what they're doing?
For sure. So there is a donation site in St. Paul for anybody who's in the Twin Cities. It's at it's the Lexington exit off of 94. Truly, if you just get off on the exit and turn left, it's right on the corner. You can't miss it. It was closed today because of weather, and it'll be closed tomorrow for a day to regroup. But it'll be back open on Thursday, and they're processing. It's like 500 people a day at maybe more. Maybe that's way even lower. Whatever. It's this insane it's this insane spread that's just out on an open lot, and they have everything from dry goods to perishables. They have toilet paper and diapers and feminine products. They have they're grilling out, and people just get to drop off donations and come pick up donations as needed. And that site is being run. It popped up totally spontaneously, being run by a woman named Shay Webby, and she is affiliated with the comedy scene in the Twin Cities. And then the two, there's a comic named Ali Sultan and a comedy club owner named Bob Edwards, and those three are sort of the little trifecta who are not little, the trifecta, who are running the site. And so they need volunteers every day. And they especially need people with medical backgrounds. So if you have any kind of medical background, even like somebody who did sports medicine in college, it was volunteering there. Just any medical background at all, both to help volunteers and to check people for COVID symptoms, because we are also in a plague. So that site has been inspiring and amazing, and both Bob and Ali. I am not in as much contact with Shay, but I'm in a lot of contact with Bob and Ali, and both of them have said separately have made comments that they feel like they weren't truly fully human until working with this location and seeing people come out to support the community like this.
And I think important to note as well, amazing things happening there, obviously, and nobody's doing comedy. Nobody's doing comedy at you when you go there.
Yeah.
So
there's no open mic.
There's no like ambush comedy show where you're trying to save someone's life and they're like, hey, how do you feel about dicks, lady? You know, like don't be scared. I know it's comedians, I know it's hard, whatever, but like they're doing good work. I see what they're doing. They're helping so many people. And if you're in the Twin Cities area, it's one of many places I think you can stop by and really help out.
Okay.
I don't know if Caitlin, do you have any?
Yeah. Well, I want to highlight. She's a friend of mine. I worked with her at a place called Mayfield. Dondry Burnham. She's a wonderful writer, and she wrote a piece in her blog that was really moving, and it just really made you realize that racism most of the time isn't overt. It's not just clearly. There are things that I've been guilty of, and other people you see happening all the time, like talking over a black person or interrupt, stuff like that is just so ingrained and you don't even realize it. But she writes about this, and it's just it's beautiful. So I want to highlight her. She's wonderful. She's on Twitter at Dondress, Dondress, Twitter and Instagram, and follow her blog. Let me find it here.
Yeah, while Ben goes, you can find that link and drop it in the chat.
It's a Black Box Theater, but yeah, okay. It's wonderful. It's beautiful, and she's just a lovely person, and she she teaches by example, just with her kind words and her thoughtfulness, and I really I want her to go viral. That's what I want, get Dondry some love. But yeah, very smart, wonderful writing. So I'll put her Instagram in the chat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ben, what about you?
I think real quick, I just want to shout out to, this is weird. It's weird to say it like that, but this is whatever. This is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. It's fun to still be self-conscious when you're trying to be vulnerable. That's great. Yeah. Two of my friends have really their non-comedian friends, they're people I've known for years, have really stepped up with efforts in their respective communities. My guy Io Du, who we met at St. Thomas, we played football together. He's a very, very confident person, but I love him to death. But he's putting his money where his mouth is. And
I've never heard a compliment be quite so.
He's gonna watch this shit. He's gonna find out that I said his name. He's gonna watch this shit, and I want him to know that I slandered it. But he's like truly, he's a dude who he's so charismatic and fun and charming and talks so much shit. I love it. But he's also a guy who will be that person. But when the time comes, he will put it, like jump into action and help out. And he's been kind of doing a lot of stuff that like Ali has been doing, where he's buying groceries for communities and getting donations and helping out, just like truly reaching out to these communities of need and like doing what he can to help. And it's fantastic to see. He's like, I feel like he's a guy who over the years is like already ingrained in like the Twin Cities community, but like will just become more and more of a pillar in that area, which is great to see. And I also, these are all very Minneapolis, St. Paul, whatever, Minnesota specific, but like I fucking miss my people and I love my guys. I'm sorry. New York is doing great shit too. We'll talk about some of that in a second. Other places are doing amazing things, but these are the people I want to point out. And the other person is my guy Al McCoy, Alex Woods McCoy. He's gonna hate that I said his full name, but I did. He's been one of my friends, I don't know, since probably my first year of college, and he decided after some of the businesses in the area had been broken into and stuff, he decided to get a list together of Black-owned businesses, and so he can focus some of his energy on there, because rebuilding. There's a lot of talk about like, oh, some of these are Black and minority-owned businesses. What you like? What don't we care about that? And we do. We do care about these places, and there's going to be monumental efforts to make sure that those places get the help they need to get back on their feet when we're ready to go. So Al has really been out in front of that effort of helping some of the Black-owned minority businesses in St. Paul, Lake Street, North Minneapolis area, all together. And I'm just like so proud of those two people, because again, they're two of the most annoying people in my life that I love very dearly. And to see them flip that switch from smart ass to like genuinely helping people is fantastic to see. And I don't know, I think we can just remember like, oh, we'll just do like 20 minutes and let's get out of here. I think maybe the last thing we can do is just highlight. There's a couple. I think maybe it'd just be nice if anyone is like active on social media or whatever. I think there are a couple different people that I found helpful that you can like pay attention to that have like interesting threads, and then we can do maybe just a round of if anybody has any extra efforts or organizations that you want to highlight, then we can get out of here. People can go home. People are home. We're all home. It's pandemic. It's not just pandemic. It's not just curfew. It's pandemic and curfew. That's insane. Nobody ever. Yeah. I don't want to get into it. Okay. But for me, a couple Twitter accounts that have been helpful. One actually comes from Julie Mitchell, who is in the chat, I believe, probably talking shit. Shout out to Julie. I did her. I don't have Instagram, and I did her Instagram show the other day. Man, did we have fun! I think it was this one. I think it was the girl with the food. Where I looked at it real quick, and she just has like a lot of resources talking about mutual aid. So many people need help, and it's nice to be able to go to one spot and see the different places that you can look at. There's another account. It's just at 251000 _ and it's the same thing. The tweet itself was like I was like a little worried. I'm not gonna say it's problematic, but it's definitely like scary. The tweet was like, my boyfriend got a hold of something, and he said someone got a hold of these pictures of me and they're gonna release them, and then like when you click into it and they're like, so I'm just gonna release them myself so they can't blackmail me, which is a terrifying thing, right? Don't ask me why I clicked. And then, but
I know
you open the thing and it's like all these different resources that you can donate to and different efforts and stuff, which is like so to do.
I saw a similar one where it was Jay-Z ruined Beyonce and Rihanna's friendship, a thread. And I was like, I mean, this isn't what I should be. It was today. I was like, this isn't what I should be reading today, but I do want to find out. And then it's just an unroll of a bunch of places to donate and articles to read, and it was great.
and I'll put all of these. I'll put these in the chat too. The last one I want to say is there are. So I, like I said before, I have people who have asked me about actionable steps to like police reform, whatever, and like or learning more about what's going on. I saw this great Twitter thread by a guy. I don't know this person. I don't know any of these people, but like I don't know. I do feel like this guy probably could be like libertarian, whatever. But the information, so however you feel, you feel. But like the information he laid out was so detailed about police reform, like what's happening, why this is happening, like contextual information, current information, and then things that are could change, and things that are where who the people in charge of changing those things. And I thought it was really informative, and I've been sharing it with people. His Twitter is just I think it's just Greg underscore Doucette or something on Twitter. Doucette, and it really breaks down. Again, I don't vouch for the guy at all. I know nothing about him, but like the information that he was giving was great, and I think that's really helpful. And there's a lot of stuff that I want to read in that. And then if you're in New York, also New York specific, real quick on Instagram. There's this. It's called Justice for George NYC. So anyone who wants to protest, anyone who's looking for all this information, there's always all this stuff out there, and sometimes you don't know where to get it and find where everyone's going to be. Justice for George NYC is an Instagram account that has like specific places. So like tomorrow, Wednesday, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever. That's a good place to go. So those are all the ones that I have. I don't know if you two want to throw
Yeah.
anything.
So bouncing off of that Instagram NYC protest, there is a Twitter account that is protest_NYC, and it has updates for where the protests are happening, but it also is it's just almost live feed of a bunch of branches of the New York City protests. So even if you're not in New York, if you're just curious to know sort of like what the protests are like in New York, and as Lindsay said, they're similar everywhere else. But if you are curious, I have found that thread really interesting, especially because like we found out a few nights ago, it's largely chance, it seems in New York at least, it's largely chance sort of which branch of the protest you wind up in and whether that branch happens to be more incendiary. We happened to be in a less incendiary branch, and there were people who were breaking windows. There were people who were there was a tiny amount of looting, barely any, but there were people who were sort of like getting into like minor scraps with the cops, but we didn't see anything dramatic, and we were out pretty late. But it turns out that back where we had started the night that we were out, there was a huge knot of violence, and I'm grateful that we happened to not be there. But that account is really good at sort of mapping all of those branches of the protests. This is the most like edgelord I'm watch people play video games on Twitch thing I'm about to ever say. I'm sure you have all, or many of you have heard of Anonymous, which is like WikiLeaks, but for good people.
Like Mr. Robot, but for real.
Right. Anonymous is this like collective person. Nobody knows. They're anonymous. That does that like sort of like are white hat hackers basically. They like hack for good. So they like shut down a couple police department websites. They have shut down a couple government websites that we disagree with, as in good that they shut down the website. Anyway, but they are hyper leftist and have a bunch of tweet feeds. Is that the word? Tweet feeds? Twitter feed? What? Twitter threads? Threads.
I mean, Twitter accounts, but feeds and threads.
No. They have one account, and it's called @YourAnonCentral. Your possessive Anon, ANON Central. And they just like they have this like long thread about about narratives that pop up in the media and that are promoted by police that are actually meant to tamp down protests, but seem like they're like great narratives, whatever. So I just find it very educational and I really love it. And then the last person that I want to highlight.
Real quick. They leaked those passwords for the Minneapolis Police Department or whatever. I'm not saying I looked at them, who knows, but they leaked the passwords, and 100% one of those cops' password was password. And I am willing to bet he is the reason they got hacked. Just throwing that out there.
I love it so much. And then the last person that I want to toss out is this is a person who I just like am friends with in he's in Austin, Texas. He's a queer Latino poet and Latinx poet, and he's just posts these incredible sort of prose poem analyses of what's going on in the world on Facebook. His posts are public, so you could follow him even without, you don't have to be friends with him. But just a little bit, like, I just want to read an excerpt of one of the posts, his post about Trump's actions yesterday. He said, "It absolutely makes sense that the president tear-gassed citizens to grab a Bible and then promised more violence and death to his citizens. In the same way that once cross-shaped ironing brands were used to mark enslaved people, in the same way the Bible was used to justify segregation. He's moving in a continuum of men whose only actual God is at the end of a sword or a bullet or a bomb or a tank. All this to keep their power to kill and be fed by their killing. May we keep working to protect each other. May we keep raging for each other's breath and sleep. May we keep each other alive. May we always walk in love as action. We only got us." And I just love his writing so much. And I can send you a link to his, you can type in Jesus Valles. You can find his poetry. Jesus spelled like Jesus. And you can follow him on Facebook if you type in Jesus Valles.
That is a beautiful poem, but next time you run poetry past us before you do it on us.
We did not agree on poetry. Nope.
I know this show isn't particularly funny, but if you're just gonna fucking put poetry in here, okay, you gotta check with the boss.
What if I just pull bongos out and a little beret? All right.
It wouldn't have felt any different than what you just did.
Popcorn Caitlin.
Caitlin.
Well, I mean, that's going to be a tough follow.
Yeah.
You close with poetry.
Right.
Do it in the middle.
I know. Fuck.
I should have gone back to it. Sorry.
I have one. Okay. And it's a person I don't know. All right.
Make it good.
It won't be. Chloe actually turned me on to the NYC protests Twitter account, and I have been on that like a person interested in what she's doing. It was like, I don't know what
poetry.
Thank you. But yeah, I've been paying. I found that today, and it's just been like, ooh, like it's like. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I've also been following. She's not very well known, but I just randomed upon, like, you know how you go in your Twitter loop, like holes, and you just keep going. And this one person, I started following her. She's great. Lex Artistes.
We'll put it in the chat.
Thank God. But it's great. She has she's been spreading a lot of information, and not just she's from Atlanta, but it's like Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Denver. It's like she's really posting a lot of information. It surprised me she doesn't have more followers. And she's really pushing supporting Black-owned businesses, and she has links to all these different businesses that are still open and delivering and stuff like that. So follow her at LEXARTISTES. And then also I found a blog, it's called Black Owned Brooklyn, which goes along with what she's promoting. So if you're going to be doing takeout, if we're going to be, support that way, I would say that's another way to support, because she also posted that like not everybody can go to a protest because it is still a pandemic, and that is understandable. And so she gives many ways in which you can help support the cause. So
and
give her a follow. She's great.
Yes. And if you are going to a protest, search on Twitter for like protest tips, because you'll just find a bunch of great like bring an extra bandana, wear goggles. Wear a jacket because it's colder than you think.
That's
Fill a
you're not
water balloon.
wrong, but that is like that's such a you thing to say. You're like, should I bring a jacket? Do you think? It's fine.
Bring a jacket to the protest.
When we went the other night, she was very prepared.
I brought swimming goggles in case they started shooting rubber bullets and tear gas. I brought 2 masks. I brought an extra bandana. I brought a little thing of lemon juice because they said that helped with tear gas. I don't know if it actually does. I've since read contradictory reports. I forgot earplugs and baking soda to deal with tear gas, and a water bottle filled with oil-based paint to interfere with riot gear.
If we survive whatever's happening in the world right now, I'm cutting that segment out and using that as the here's how to protest. Okay, first, lemon juice or whatever the fuck she said.
And wear nice socks. Don't let your toes get cold.
Okay, I think we can close out. I feel like I just want to. How about, I don't know if they're closing words / whatever we want to do. We can just go around real quick. This has been long. Sorry, we don't really know what this is. We just didn't. I just know I've been having a lot of conversations, and I feel like this is a good place to just get it all in one and let people know that, hey, I appreciate that you're curious and that you care and that you're willing to learn. I think that's huge. I don't have all the answers. A lot of us don't, but I'm willing to put in the work, I guess, if you are. And I think so anyone who's watching, especially my friends or people who anecdotally, whatever, know me through a friend or whatever, what can you do? I think is a lot of the questioning that I'm getting. What can I do? Straight up, like amplify. This is what you're hearing today. A lot of people, you're seeing a lot of people say this. Amplify Black voices, or like not even just Black, but disenfranchised communities, minorities, LGBTQ communities, anyone who is not you that is saying something that is important and pertinent. Listen to them. First of all, listen. Second of all, boost the signal on that. All right. Like, if you're active on social media, and I would hope that right now you're seeking out different things and retweeting and reposting and whatever. I'm sharing a bunch of shit that I see, and my friends are saying some very poignant things, and I really want people to see that. And That's just a very simple thing you can do: is listen and then amplify. And I think that's huge. I will put another place to donate in the chat. I just forgot that I wanted to mention this. It's Act Blue. I think that's just the website, but where you can split up your donations to all these different. It has like literally everywhere I've ever seen so far that you can donate. Basically, this has all of it. You can split up $100 50 different ways, whatever, if you want. And it goes to a bunch of different donations, different places. I'll put that in the chat, but that's it for me. I don't know what else you two want to say, but
yeah. There's a Google Doc of a bunch of resources, books, podcasts, articles, and I'm going to put it in the chat right now. I don't know who's compiled this, but it's awesome, and it's great resources. And this show won't be edited at all, so the chat will stay live on YouTube later, so you can go back into the chat with this particular show. There's the Google Doc.
Yeah, and just a reminder, please donate, because it's going right back to those charities that we mentioned earlier. And
not to be a dick right now, but I can't not say this. God, I'm 12. We literally have $420.69 in our donations, which is the perfect amount.
It is.
I will say. So thank you so much to everybody who's donated. I
Ben,
guess like, if you have more to donate, sure, but like this is the perfect number. I don't know what to say.
Take a screenshot.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Sorry to mansplain over here. Go ahead. Actually, one more. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right. Well. But thank you so much for everything that you have donated. This is incredibly generous. And we know it's what a clusterfuck of a time it is, and financially donating is not a possibility for a lot of people. Um, so thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning into this. We didn't know what we were doing and still don't. But I think it's conversations that need to be had and talked about and felt, and um, even if it's uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and you make yourself vulnerable, I guess. Um, I don't know. Was that poetry? Oh, fuck.
You,
Um,
I've
you
actually,
we need you to stretch. If you could,
yeah,
no!
I'll real
I've actually written an original piece. If you wouldn't,
Um, I will say too, if you're my friend, if you're not my friend, you're watching, you have a question for me specifically, hit me up. I will still answer. It might not be right away, but I want to answer stuff. If you feel like I'm a person that you can come to ask questions, I don't know everything, but I will connect you to resources and people that do if I can. Also, I'm a fucking idiot, okay? I got a 20 on my ACT. I am not smart. I should not have graduated college or gotten in probably, but here we are, okay? So I also want to learn things. So if you have literature that you think I should be, especially like I feel like I don't read enough. Like honestly, I just read a shit ton of sci-fi books, and that's not cool. Okay, I'm too old. But like, if you have stuff that you think is important for me to see or read, or any of us here, share it. If not in the chat now, email us at something good ny, or hit us up on Twitter or Instagram, something good ny. Tag us in something, put us whatever. I want to know all of it. I have a lot of room to grow in that area of continuing to learn and continuing to push and get better. So like if you have shit that you think is important, please let me know and I would love to take a look
yep.
at. And I don't know. There normally we end the show with like a dance off, but man, that would be almost as inappropriate as doing someone else's poetry on the show without letting your co-host know. Um, so I think we're just gonna end it here unless Chloe and Caitlin have anything else to say. Lindsay. If you've been
I do,
watching this, oh, go
I
ahead.
do, I have a one-woman show that I would love to debut.
Oh,
Lindsay, if you could
I'm
just mute
cutting
her
it
real quick.
It's
We're gonna have to
it,
mute her.
it's about what it feels like to have a birthmark.
Oh, you're just gonna play one of your sets. I got you.
Oh,
Okay, we're
boy.
back.
Don't we wish the sound went out now, huh?
Well,
Um,
um,
if you watch this, thank you so much. Again, we don't know what we're doing, and I don't know if this is helpful, but I will say we know it's helpful in the sense that you donated so much that's going to help people.
yeah,
So you should be proud of yourselves too. We're proud of you. Thank you for being part of this. We'll be back next week, hopefully, and hopefully we'll have games and shit, and we can laugh and whatever. But I can't promise you that either, because who the fuck knows anymore. But if you're watching, we love you, and if you've been supporting the show, we honestly really do appreciate you. And hit me up. Let's talk. Let's hug it out, bro. But don't touch me, because who knows what's gonna happen now.
COVID.
This has
Mhm.
been something good.
it's been
Have a
something
good
good.
night. Bye.
We love you. Bye bye.